You have been praying the same prayer for months, maybe years. You've cried over it, you've fasted over it, you've written it down and put it on the wall where you could see it every morning. And every morning, nothing changes. No answer, no shift, no sign that heaven even registered the request. So you do what faithful people do. You pray harder, you pray louder, you get more specific, more urgent, more desperate, and the silence gets deeper. Here is what no one tells you. Sometimes the silence is not a delay. Sometimes the silence is the answer. And if you don't know which one you're in, you will spend years exhausting yourself in prayer, begging God to reverse what He already decided, while the thing He actually wants to give you sits untouched, waiting for you to stop fighting what He closed. Stay with me, because there's a version of persistent prayer that honors God, and there's a version that quietly becomes a form of unbelief dressed in spiritual language. You need to know the difference. Here are 5 things you may be praying for right now that God has already answered. The answer just wasn't yes. Number 1, comfort in a season God is using. You're not praying for something sinful, you're praying for relief. You're praying that the pressure would ease, that the weight would lift, that you could finally breathe again. And that sounds right. It sounds like you're just asking God to be kind. But ask yourself honestly, what if this discomfort is not an accident? What if it's architecture? Paul prayed 3 times to have his thorn removed. 3 times. God's answer was not yes, and it was not later. It was this: "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:9. God did not remove the pain. He reframed its purpose. He said, "This is not against you. This is working for you in ways you cannot see yet." C.S. Lewis wrote, "God whispers to us in our pleasures, but shouts in our pains." If God is shouting, stop asking Him to be quiet. Release this prayer. Take this away. Replace it with, "What are you building in me through this?"
Number 2, a person God already removed. You know who I'm talking about. You don't need me to say the name because you already thought it the moment I started the sentence. A relationship that ended, a friendship that went cold, a person who walked out of your story, and you have been asking God every single day to write them back in. You've convinced yourself it's faith. You've told yourself you're standing on a promise, but somewhere underneath the prayer, there's a fear you won't say out loud. What if God is the one who closed that door? The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16:9. And sometimes the Lord's steps lead away from someone you love, not as punishment, not because you failed, but because God is a better author than you are. And that person was not written for the chapter you're entering. John Bunyan spent 12 years in prison for preaching the gospel, 12 years separated from his family, his church, his life. And inside that cell, he wrote Pilgrim's Progress, a book that has guided millions of believers for 4 centuries. What looked like God removing everything Bunyan loved was actually God positioning him for his greatest purpose. Release this prayer. Bring them back. Replace it with, "Heal what their absence revealed in me."
Number 3, the removal of a struggle God is using. You hate this sin. You've repented of it more times than you can count. You've begged God to just take it from you, to supernaturally cut the desire out of your heart so you never have to fight it again. And it's still there. And so you wonder, does God even care? Is He even listening? Here's the thing most people won't tell you. The struggle is not always the problem. Sometimes the struggle is the gym. It is the resistance God is using to build spiritual muscle you would never develop without it. The testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1:3. Perseverance is not given, it is produced. It is made under pressure. If God removed every struggle at the first prayer, you would be spiritually weak, easily moved, unable to stand when the real storms come. The enemy wants you to interpret the ongoing struggle as evidence that God abandoned you. But Hebrews 12:11 says no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but later it produces a harvest of righteousness. God is not ignoring your prayer. He is answering it with something more valuable than relief. He is answering it with formation. Release this prayer. Take this from me. Replace it with, build me through this until you're done with it. Number 4, confirmation you already have. You've been praying for a sign, a feeling, a clear word from God that would finally give you permission to move forward. You've been waiting for certainty before you obey, and so you stay still. You call it waiting on God, but if you're honest, you've already heard Him. You already know. You just don't like what you heard, so you keep asking. This is one of the quietest forms of disobedience in the Christian life. It sounds like faith, it looks like caution, but it is really a negotiation, asking God to keep talking until you're comfortable with what He said. Once Samuel learned to recognize God's voice, he was expected to move on it. God does not repeat Himself indefinitely to people who are not willing to move on the first word. Deuteronomy 2:3 records God saying it plainly. You have been going around this mountain long enough. Turn north. You have been circling the same mountain for a long time. God is not going to send a new sign. He is waiting for you to act on the last one. Release this prayer. God, just show me one more time. Replace it with, I hear you, I'm moving.
Number 5, a version of your life that God never promised. This one is the hardest, because the thing you've been praying for isn't sinful, it isn't selfish, it's good. A marriage, a child, a restored career, a healed body, a dream that seemed God-given, and you've been holding onto it with both hands, praying for it with your whole heart, and wondering why a good God won't give you a good thing. But here is the truth that changes everything. Not every good desire is a God-given promise. Some good things are desires God placed in you to shape your character, not to be fulfilled on your timetable or in the form you imagined. Abraham was promised a son, but the promise came 25 years after it was given, in a way Abraham could never have arranged himself, at a moment that made clear the son was entirely God's doing. In those 25 years, Abraham tried to help God out. He ran ahead. He improvised. He prayed his own version of the promise into existence, and it caused pain that lasted for generations. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. Isaiah 55:8. The version of your life you've been praying for may be smaller than what God is building. Your prayer may be asking God to hand you a good plan while He is writing a great one. A.W. Tozer said this, "The man who has God and everything else has no more than the man who has God only." What if the thing you are begging for would distract you from the only thing that would truly satisfy you? Release this prayer. Give me this specific thing. Replace it with, give me you, and let everything else follow from that.
Here is what ties all 5 together. God's no is not rejection. It is direction. Every closed door is a redirection towards something He has already prepared. But you will never find it if you are standing at the closed door, knocking, demanding it open. I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. Revelation 3:8. There is a door already open for you, but you are too busy grieving the shut one to walk through it. So stop praying harder for what God already answered. Start praying smarter. Start asking Him what the closed door is protecting you from. Start asking what the struggle is producing in you. Start asking where the open door is, and trust that a God who gave His Son will not withhold something good from the child He already died for. He who did not spare His own Son, but gave Him up for us all, how will He not also, along with Him, graciously give us all things? Romans 8:32. Not some things, all things, on His timeline, in His way, better than you planned. If this broke something open in you, I need you to do one thing. Go to the comments right now and write this: I trust His no. 4 words that tell God and tell the enemy that His silence does not shake you, that His closed door does not define you, that you are not a beggar at heaven's gate, you are a child of the King, and you trust your Father's judgment even when you don't understand it. Write it down, mean it, and watch what opens. If this message sharpened your faith, subscribe. We're building a community of believers who refuse to let confusion and silence become a reason to stop trusting God. New video soon. See you in the next one.